welcome to Earth America. My name is Hasna, one of the guys here in Earth America. For those of you who are new here and have no idea what Earth America is, Earth America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn about the United States. And yes, we are currently open for visitors every day, so come visit us at America Jakarta to explore our events, experience our facilities, and express yourselves. In this episode, we will be having the GED test preparation, reasoning through language, and series week 7 language and grammar review. But before we begin, we have a little fun fact for you. And fun fact for today is in 2007, Evie Eves of Amarillo, Texas, earned her GED credential at 97 years old, becoming the oldest GED certificate recipient. Wow, that was a fun fact for today. We will also love to hear some other trivias from you regarding our events today, so feel free to share with us through our social media platforms. And now, without further ado, allow me to invite our GED qualified instructor, Zakaria. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome everyone to another session of GED Prep Class by America. This is session 14 and I hope you have been well and I hope this is not your first session attending this program. Anyway, as you remember in the last 13 sessions, we have talked about all these topics. From session 1 to session 7, we talked about reading nonfiction and, of course, analyzing nonfiction. And from session 8 to session 10, we talked about reading fiction, and then we went on to talk about some grammar rules. And in the previous session, we did some recap of reading nonfiction. Yep. So that's it. Before, maybe I should go here first. Okay, so before I go to the next slide, and just to get you in the mood of learning, I know in the last 2 sessions we weren't able to practice a lot. So that's why we have 2 reading practices today, and I hope you guys are ready. Please now open your Mentimeter or go to mentimeter.com, the website, through your browser on your phone or your computer. And when you are there, I hope you will be in a few seconds, go to this code and write down this code. And after you have written down this code, there is no passage there. So you have to read the passage on this page and answer the questions there. If you have 2 devices, that's really great. Keep this meeting on one of your devices, either on computer, and then through your phone, you can go to Mentimeter and write down this code. Otherwise, it is going to be a bit tricky because Mentimeter, unfortunately, does not really allow to write down all of these in one slide. So that makes it a bit difficult. Anyway, go to Mentimeter, and I hope you guys are ready to answer the questions, and you have 15 minutes. Now it's 3:04. So 4 minutes past 3. And you guys have 15 minutes? No, it's 3:05. So see you at 3:20. Good luck, and I wish you guys all the best. Okay, I think that's it. I hope you guys were able to answer the questions. Now let's go to the next slide and see how you guys have done. In the text that you have read or that you read, we know that it was about Kevlar. It's a material that is known for its durability and resistance against fire and bullets, and also it's said to be 5 times as strong as steel. Now, the first question is, which of the following is not a product that has been made with Kevlar? Okay, if we go to the passage, we know, we know that it talks about a lot of things being made with Kevlar, like tires, bowstrings, tennis rackets, right? And now if we go to the next slide, we know that tennis rackets, yes, and then later on, it talks about body armors and also bullets, bulletproof vests, gloves, shoes, safety jackets, and it talks about a lot of things. One of the things that is not mentioned to be made with Kevlar is option B. So option B, in this case, is something that is not, or that has not been made with Kevlar. So 3 people have chosen option B, and that is the correct option. Now let's go to the next one. The second, sorry for the noise. Seems like I broke my chair. So the next question is, when was the first bulletproof vest invented? Now, if we go back, okay, not here. If we go back to the previous slide, we know that the bulletproof vests were invented. Maybe I should choose a highlighter. This one, right? Where is it? The first 1975. We know that this was when the first bulletproof vest was invented. And 6 people have chosen 1975, and that is correct. Well done. Now, question 3. For which of the following characteristics is Kevlar known? So heat resistance, durability, all of the above. The next option, what was the next option? Was it being bulletproof? So as strong as steel, don't remember the option. Anyway, but all of them, it had all of them, right? It had heat resistance. Let me find the next option. It had heat resistance. It has strength. It's as strong, 5 times as strong as steel. It has strength. It has, it is heat resistant, and it's durable. So it has all those qualities. So option D, all of the above, is the correct option. Question 4, who is credited with inventing Kevlar? So none of the above, and Stephanie Korlick. I'm not sure how you guys have chosen, but 2 people have chosen none of the above, while it's clearly mentioned in the text that Korlick was working on something, and then Korlick had invented Kevlar, right? So it is mentioned. So it's Stephanie Korlick, and also we know that, and it says that, did you know that a woman invented this fiber? So we know that it's Stephanie. So, okay, so option C is correct. Now, question 5. Which of the following caused the search for a fabric like Kevlar? Okay, let's look at the options. For question 5, you had option A, shortage in the gasoline supply, B, a desire to protect police officers, C, the need to replace asbestos, and D, the want of better musical instruments. Okay. We know that all of the other options, Kevlar had something to do with all the other options, but those things, those usages of Kevlar actually came after it was invented. And we know that the main reason was gasoline shortage. So now, if we go here and we look at this, there was the gasoline shortages due to conflict in the Middle East actually caused people to be concerned about the gasoline shortages. And a Polish American scientist named Stephanie Louise Wallach was working, and then with an American chemical company, and then she decided to actually to make a combination of two of the main elements, which was a solution usually ignored by scientists. Anyway, we know that shortage in the gasoline supply actually caused the scientists to do some research about how to replace, how to make fibers, and that was how Kevlar was invented. Now, option 6, a vest made of 15 layers of Kevlar with no steel plates will stop all but which of the following rounds? Now, if we go and look at all the options, let me go to question 6. Option A, you had handgun rounds. Option B, shotgun pellets. Option C, rifle rounds. And option D, it could stop all of the above. And we know that it cannot really stop. Of course, like the other ones, they're really easy to stop. But in the text, it's mentioned as option C, rifle rounds. And now if we go to the text, so it talks about now, so it contained 15 and also talks we know that without a steel plate, it can stop the other ones, but rifle rounds, which needs to have steel plates, right? Okay. Now, question 7. Why did people begin using asbestos in buildings? It was very heavy. I don't think that that is a good reason to start using something. It was resistant fire. Yes, that is the reason it was used, and it was then later on discarded or avoided because it caused cancer. So coating material that is known for its ability to resist fire. Oh, it's not highlighter. Let me replace that with highlighter and we will be good to go. So now we know that it talks about asbestos and then natural coating material that is known for its what? Ability to resist fire. So we know that is the main reason asbestos was being used. And it can resist fire of up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, we know option D is correct for question 7. Question 8, according to the article, how many American police officers are estimated to wear bulletproof vests daily? Okay, I can see why 6 of you have chosen 2,000, option B, but it's not correct. Now let's go to the text and find out why. You have maybe the reason you chose it was because of this. This is not the number of police officers using bulletproof vests. This is the number of documented police vest saves, right? Like over 2,000 saves were made. Now, if we go and read the sentence before that, vest-like Armelino were quickly picked up by police forces, and it's estimated that by 1990, half of the police officers in America were bulletproof vests daily. We know that half of them were bulletproof vests daily, and there were, by 2006, there were 2,000 documented police vest sales. It means that people were shot, but the bulletproof vests actually saved them. Now, if we go to the next slide, and let's go to the next question. So option C is correct for question 8. Now, question 9. How much stronger is Kevlar than steel? Half as strong. Not quite sure about that because it's said to be stronger than steel. As strong? No. 5 times as strong. Now, how do we know that for question 9? Option C is correct. Let's go to the text. So it says that they had been working on something, and then during one of the tests in the process, very milky white solution by mixing 2 chemicals that were often used in the process, the solution was usually ignored or thrown away. But for the test, they were made to discover that fabric that Quelic created was not only more durable than nylon, but was also more durable than steel. Nylon fabric known for its strength and durability suspension. Okay, tires and all. Okay, maybe. Okay, in the first one, usually a solution that's ignored, right? Okay. First sentence, did you know that there is a fiber that is flexible and lightweight as nylon? It means it's as light as nylon, yet 5 times stronger than steel. Okay, great. Now we know that. We know that for question 9, option C is correct. 5 times as strong. Now, question 10. So, what product was Quelic trying to improve when she invented Kevlar? What product? It was armor, you have tires, and then brake pads. Okay, brake pads was something. Oh, they are used. They are made with Kevlar, yes, but what was that product the reason why Quelic was trying to improve? Or was it the product that Quelic was trying to improve? And now let's go to the text. We know that it's tires. So now they were looking. So an American chemical company, she and her group were trying to make a lightweight yet durable fiber to be used in tires. So that was the product that Quelic was trying to improve. So we know that for question 10, option A is the correct option. Okay, if you guys have any questions, now look at how I did. You see, I just skimmed through the text as you guys were reading and answering the questions, and I did not go through the questions. What I did was I just read the questions one by one, and I knew where to look for, except for this one, which was a bit silly. Anyway, I knew where to look for the answers. Even though you do not know which answer might be correct, it's always good to read the question. And once, if you have gone through the text once, even if it was just a really fast reading, it's fine. You know where to look for the answer. And that is the trick that you guys have to use during the test in order to save some time. And as you know, you guys came back at 3:20. Now it's 3:33, and we have answered all the questions correctly in maybe half of the amount of time that you guys spent. So now If you have any questions about this passage, if you want to know how I found the answers, feel free to write your questions in the chat box, or if you're using other platforms, feel free to go to this Mentimeter code, or maybe in the chat box of the platform that you are using to participate in this session. Now, a quick recap of the previous session. In the previous session, we went on to talk about reading comprehension nonfiction section. We went on to talk about what reading comprehension is, what you are expected during the test, and some ways to analyze nonfiction text. So for reading comprehension, we said that it's basically your understanding of what you read. The test, RLA GED's RLA test, requires you to have a specific or more than a specific level of understanding when you read something, so they can assure that you will succeed when you go to university. The next one is you are expected to analyze, read, understand, analyze, extract evidence, and also one of the different sections, the writing section, you are expected to write an extended response to two opposing arguments. We said that main idea basically is the biggest idea in the text and biggest point of the text, the central point of the text, and most of the evidence provided in the text actually support that one giant idea. We went on to talk about text structure. We said that there are different structures that writers use, from descriptive to spatial to cause and effect to problem and solution, and to persuasive writing. Those are different structures writers use. Each one is used for a separate cause. For instance, if you want to talk about what is causing what, you use cause and effect structure. If you want to talk about a problem and propose a solution, that's when you use problem and solution structure. And if you want to talk about two things, compare them, or maybe talk about the difference between two things, similarities and differences, that's when you use compare and contrast text structure. If you want to describe, it's usually used in the fiction genre. That's when you use descriptive or spatial writing. Anyway, we went on to talk about inference. We said that inference basically means making logical conclusions based on the evidence, based on the logical reasoning that you have in the text. You have written text from your understanding, and it has to be logical, by the way. You can make illogical inferences, and they will not give you the points that you need to pass the test. Now, we then went on to talk about perspective of the narrator, in the US narrator, and we said that person whose job is basically to limit the miscommunication, or to eliminate the barrier of communication between the reader and the text. That's the narrator's job. And we said that there is first-person perspective, second-person perspective, and third-person. First-person, basically, when you read a first-person narration, you see pronouns like I, my, mine, me, right? And when you read second person, this is usually used in self-help books. You see you, your life, your day should be spent like this. And if you read third person perspective, writing or narration, that's when you see pronouns used for third person. like he, she, it, they, them, themselves, her, his, him, her, right, hers. And we went on to talk about facts and opinions. We said that facts are statements that can be proven or disproven. Like I say, I am 65 years old. This I say, and opinions, we said that opinions cannot be proven or disproven. They can be argued. For instance, you make a statement like, okay, I think this singer has the most beautiful voice among any human being in the history, right? And that is a statement. To you, that might be something you truly believe in, but it's a statement that cannot be proven or disproven. You can't prove this. You can't, objectively, because beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So beauty is subjective. That's why it's opinion. We went on to talk about author's tone. We said that it matters to understand author's tone because authors actually kind of imply their inner, personality or their true thoughts about a subject through their word choice, through the way they describe different characters through and events. And that's why it's important to know or to analyze what kind of tone the author has used in the text. And then we went on to talk about generalization. We said that when you come to, it's like inference, but inference is used for really small, kind of small, for a few sentences maybe. You read two sentences and then you think, okay, this is maybe what's implied, or what these two sentences imply, or these two statements imply. So I infer that it's the case is this, or this is the case. But with generalization, it's usually you read a whole text and then you come to a conclusion, or you read a few different evidences and then you come to a conclusion saying that, okay, most people, not everyone, so you use kind of these uh, generalization terms like most. You don't use always, by the way. That's why it's important to know how to generalize properly. We have valid and invalid generalization. We said that valid generalization are supported by the evidence in the text, but invalid generalizations are actually disproven uh, by the evidence in the text. We went on to talk about purpose of a text. We said that a text has purpose. It doesn't really matter how long or how short a text is. It always has a purpose. It has different purposes: to entertain, to inform, to persuade. These are the main purposes. To entertain, usually you see this in novels, books that are written to entertain you, and usually movies, action movies. Their intention is not to teach you anything. Their intention is to just amuse you for a while and entertain you for a while. We said that the next one is to inform. This is what we got actually from this text. So after reading this text, we know something that we did not know before, or even if you knew, this text's intention is to inform you about something. So that is the next one. And the other purpose that a text can have is to persuade you, challenges your thoughts and your beliefs, and makes you think about your choices or your opinions about different things. We went on to talk about evidence. We said there are different types of evidence. Evidence is a must in order to support your argument. You have to use different types of evidence like statistics, facts, experts' opinions. The examples, maybe some anecdotes, logical reasoning, maybe some graphs. We went on then to talk about relative arguments. We said that valid arguments have evidence to support them. For instance, if you say that you should not throw away your masks yet, and then you use a research, you say that, okay, like a research was done recently in a city in the US where people have stopped using masks and they have seen a surge in the spread of COVID-19 again. So that's why you should not stop using masks yet. That's what makes that argument of not stopping using masks valid argument. And if you just say that, okay, don't use masks because I don't think it's a good idea to do it, that's invalid. That's not supported by any evidence. Reading to related texts, we say that texts can be related through their topic, through their theme, and through some graphics. During the GED test, especially in social studies, you will see some graphs and also some numbers where you have to kind of read the text and go through the graphs. And you will see different texts referring to one graph. So they have that graph that actually connects those texts. We went on to talk about analyzing two opposing arguments. We said that when we want to analyze two opposing arguments, we have to read them thoroughly, understand them as questions, understand each argument's main idea. And then after we have done that, we have to go through the evidence to see what supporting details each argument has and which one is better supported. That's how you analyze and that's how you decide which one to vouch for. And this is really useful for this, especially useful for the writing section of GED RLA test. We went on to talk about strategies. I said we will, by the way, like test taking strategies. We'll talk about those strategies in session 16. But the strategy here is about reading and understanding. So we said that strategy is to ask questions, like what the author is saying, what the purpose of the text is, what can we learn from the text, what the theme of the text is, what supporting details are provided, what types of evidence are provided. And if I'm speaking too fast, please do let me know because we have a lot to recap in this session. So anyway, that's it. The recap. I'm speaking really fast. I hope I don't get so again. Now, in today's session, we are going to talk about main genres and subgenres, theme, inference, story structure, characterization, and figurative language, which is the language that you have to figure out. Okay, that's it. Now let's go to the next one. This is the genres that we practice a lot. So I hope you guys don't have any difficulty understanding this recap. So I hope this recap is not too short for you anyway. So we said that there are 5 main genres basically. So you have nonfiction, you have fiction, you have drama, you have poetry, and you have folklore. So we said nonfiction, they are not made up, basically. They are true, actual, based on true events. And we have fiction, we said that they are made up. Someone's they are made up of someone's imagination. We said drama, they are meant to be played on stage. We said poetry, they are concerned with beauty of language, and folklore, they are actually handed down from one generation to another throughout the history. So we said in nonfiction, you have these 3, you have these 4 factual writing types. So informational writing, we said that their intention is to inform you. Persuasive writing, autobiography is when someone writes their own life history, story and history. And biography is when someone else writes, someone else's life history and story. Fiction, we say that fiction, the main fiction genre is basically writings. This genre is made of writings that come from someone's imagination. So you have realistic writing, realistic fiction writing, which is like a writing that could be true, but is not true. For instance, someone being able to write, someone being able to maybe inventing a computer that was voice command. This is realistic. With the technology that we have, we can do it. It can be done, but it has not happened yet. So it's still fiction. Science fiction, again, with technology, it talks about futuristic technologies like flying cars, right? And historical fiction is something that it talks about, for instance, something that is supposed to have happened in the 16th century, but it's made up. It's based in history, at some point of history, but it is not true at all. Fantasy, it involves magic, everything, including magic. So that is how you differentiate. Number 3 is drama. We said that they are meant to be acted on the stage or on a stage, and usually you see this in theatrical performances. Number 4 is poetry. Poetry is concerned with beauty of language, and its intention is to kind of to make you think. We're using beautiful words, and they are usually also fiction. And the next one is folklore. Sorry. Excuse me. Now, the next one is folklore. We said they are handed down from one generation to another through speech. And they are actually stories and things told by older generation to the newer one. And we said there are different types: fairy tales, fables, myth, and legends. We said that fairy tales they involve magic, just like fantasy. But fairy tale is something that is handed down from older generations through speech. Fantasy is in writing. Fable is a story that has a moral, that has a lesson for you to learn. Myth is concerned with creation, usually with gods like Zeus, and other Greek gods and Norse gods. And legend is a story that could be, or maybe could have been true at some point, but now it's so exaggerated that it sounds completely made up, right? For instance, maybe there was someone who could say, could not eat for about 2 weeks, and then that's not scientifically correct, maybe like for 5 weeks, for 5 weeks, for 5 days, and still be able to move around and function properly. Maybe there was someone like this. But then this story gets told from the older generation to the new ones, and now in today as well, like people believe there was someone who was, who would stay hungry for 2 years, still be able to function. Or maybe someone kind of lived a long life. Maybe he was alive until 110 years old. And then now it's so exaggerated. Now that person is thought or is told to have lived like 600 years, which is impossible, scientifically speaking. Now, let's go to the next slide. We talked about genres, main genres and subgenres. Now, the next slide is theme. We said that theme is basically the life lesson of a story. It's the biggest lesson that you can learn from a story. And this is usually subjective, usually, or it can be subjective, but it's clear. And when you see the options, you know which option is the correct one based on the evidence, based on the points, and based on the main idea of the text. And for instance, I think we made up a story about someone named, was it Jessica or Jasmine? I don't remember the name. Anyway, so that girl was struggling to go to college and was really unhappy about not being able to go to university. But then someone told her about being able to get GED diploma and prepare for GED test and get her GED diploma, which would then allow her to go to university or apply to university. And then she worked really hard and succeeded. The life lesson or the theme of that story, that if you try, you can achieve. Or someone said, if you try, you can fly, which is not how, okay, if you try, you can fly, which is not, this is hyperbole, by the way. If you try, you can fly. This is an idiom and also hyperbole because it's exaggerated. You can't really fly. You don't have the wings to it. Okay, anyway. Yes, I will get to your question in a minute after this slide. Inference. So a logical conclusion based on logical reasoning and evidence. Logical reasoning and evidence of the text, of course. So when you see logical reasoning in the text, when you see logical reasoning in the text and you see the evidence in the text, that's when you come to a conclusion, and that conclusion is inference. So that's when you infer something. Your question about how do we not get confused with years and dates? Okay, that is, I think that is something maybe you will be able to go through again in the next text that we have to analyze today, which is going to be longer than the previous text that you read and answered the questions for. It's fine, we will do that. Okay, so will we solve many years, which was pretty confusing when we have limited time? Yes, I understand that. It is quite confusing to have many numbers written in a text. But once you understand the text, the flow of the text, it becomes really easy. So like just by reading that text, now I can remember that Kevlar was invented in 1964 or 5, 64 probably. So it was invented in that year, and the reason for that was because they wanted to improve. There was this American chemical company named do something, and see, this is just me reading that text once. You have to have a basic understanding of the text as a whole. That's when you know that the numbers are not going to confuse you. So once I know that it was invented in 1964, then I don't have to think about anything before 1964, right? And then this scientist invented that, which by accident, by combining two basic elements, that was a solution that was usually thrown away by other scientists. But then this Stephanie Korlek actually convinced the technicians to test it, which was the results of which was surprising because it was as light as an island, but 5 times as strong, 5 times as stronger as steel. And then in 1975, the bulletproof was invented by Robert something, which the bulletproof vest was invented by Robert something. And then we read that, by 1990, half of the police officers in the American police force used bulletproof vests, and by 2006, 2000 sales were actually made by these bulletproof vests. These are the numbers that we just know. And then if we go back and look at other things like asbestos, the reason it was being used was because it was resistant against fire, or it has the quality of heat resistance, but then it caused cancer, which was the reason why it was replaced by Kevlar. And yes, Kevlar has no such risks. When you have this context, when you have this basic understanding of the text as a whole, the numbers, they don't really confuse you after that. So that's why I said the strategy here is to read. Okay, that is not read. To read, yeah, and understand. Okay, read and understand. When you do that, that is when you won't be confused by the number of numbers in the text. We will go through it again, do not worry, after the next text that you will read and go through. Okay, this is done. Now we went on to talk about story structure. Okay, good. Okay, good. We don't have a lot. So that's why you will be able to go through the next text. So story structure, we said that it doesn't really matter what kind of text you read. So it always follows a structure. And usually in non-fiction text, you'll read different points. And in fiction text, you have different stages. So in fiction text, you have exposition, which is when the scene is set up, when you are introduced to the main character or to some characters in the story. And then you have the inciting incident. That's when an incident is about to happen and is being introduced and is about to happen. Or this is known as the conflict introduction as well. You have rising action. This is when the tension in the story, or the tension of the reader while reading the story, keeps increasing. Climax or turning point. If this is a bad incident, by the way, if this is an incident that affects the main character or the characters involved, affected by the incident negatively, that's I said the tension actually keeps rising. So climax or turning point, this is the highest point of tension. This is this stage, right? That is the highest point of tension. Maybe I should change the color to maybe light blue. Okay, this is the highest point of tension, this climax. This is where the story is set. This is where the setup is done, or the exposition is done. This is where the reader is introduced to the environment. This is where the conflict is introduced. This is where the rising action stage happens, and the kind of the tension keeps growing or keeps rising. And this is the climax, highest point of tension. This is falling action, and this, if most stories have, because they want to kind of have some kind of suspense, but usually the moment of high suspense is not there, and this is general resolution, where the conflict is resolved, and usually the main character or the characters affected by the conflict end up in either a worse or better situation before better situation than they were before this incident or conflict. And in these small kind of structures that you see, a combination of structures that you see in the, or maybe inside this one giant structure, is usually what you see in movies. You know, there is this really great incident or this really great conflict, and then there are some really small conflicts that, you know, they arise and they are resolved really easily. But the biggest conflict in the movie keeps the audience kind of, you know, keep the audience attention, and the audience keep watching to see the biggest conflict get resolved. And usually you might have felt this. I hope you've not. But you know, there are some movies that you go, or maybe some books that you want to read, and then like 20 minutes in, you're not really entertained. You keep getting distracted. You feel as if nothing is happening, and that's when you know that the writer actually has made the mistake of, you know, keeping the exposition or the setup really long and has not introduced any conflict. Or maybe the conflicts that are introduced are really, really small and doesn't really affect the movie itself, and you kind of feel as if, you know, these conflicts are pointless, and that's when you lose your kind of interest in the film and you stop watching it. Boring films have this quality, or has this quality is something with this maybe defect is something that you see in boring movies. The exposition is too long and it bores the audience. Anyway, before the exposition of that, yes, it's too long. Anyway, next one, characterization. We said that characterization is basically how different characters, or how the main character, or how a character, depending on the perspective of the narrator, which we know that you have different perspectives. You have, for instance, for third person perspective, we said that you have third person objective, third person limited, and third person omniscient. For third person objective, we said that it doesn't talk about anyone's thoughts and feelings. It only talks about actions and dialogues, and it's up to the reader to infer what qualities and what basically what characteristics the characters in the story have. But in third person limited, the author talks about only one person's thoughts and feelings and does not talk about anyone else's thoughts and feelings, and only talks about others' actions and dialogues. We said that in third person omniscient, however, the author talks about everyone's actions, dialogues, feelings, thoughts, characteristics, and everything basically. Depending on how, from what perspective the narration is being done. So this characterization can also be dependent on that. And a characterization can be done either directly or indirectly, or directly or indirectly. So we say that the narration is, or the narration's intention is to limit or eliminate the barrier of communication between the reader and the writing, or the text, or the book, or the story. Narrator is the person who has that job. We know about different perspectives of narrator. Dialogues, we know these are the talkings, or the things said by characters to one another. Like Mom said, Justin, where are you? Shout. You can shouting. These are dialogues. Yes, Justin, Mom replied. And then this is how dialogues happen. Quotation marks. This quotation mark is basically a punctuation mark that is used to directly quote characters. Like you say, hey, hey there, right? You know, said John. Hey there, said John. This means that John actually said these exact words. So this exact statement was made by John. So that's when quotations are used. Okay. Now the next one is direct characterization or explicit characterization. We said that this is when the writer or when the author decides to directly characterize a character. Say that, okay, John is a really lazy and really lazy and silly boy who makes mistakes, does not study, messy, and uses phrases to put maybe smart, intelligent person who does well at school and is always respectful to everyone he interacts with. You say this is direct characterization, because the character or the characteristics of the character is stated directly, and there is no room for kind of for the readers to make any inference about what traits any character might have. That is direct characterization or explicit characterization. And indirect characterization is when the writer doesn't talk about anyone's personal traits directly. He only talks about actions, and it's up to the reader to infer it, or it's the reader's job to infer or to figure out what characteristics the characters have. So, for instance, you say John says hi respectfully to the teacher, and then John asks how the teacher is doing, and then you go on and talk about some really kind actions that a character has done, and that's when the reader infers that the character is a good person and has these positive traits or attributes. Again, the characteristics or traits are implied, not explicitly or clearly stated. Next one, we went on to talk about hyperbole. We went on to talk about figurative language, hyperbole, metaphor, personification, simile, understatement, and idiom. We said that so figurative language, unlike literal language, is not actually they do not mean, or they not mean literally how they sound. It's up to the reader to figure out the meanings. For instance, in any literal language, you say that, okay, that car is blue, the computer is fast, this person was born in the year 2000. They mean exactly what they say, right? But with figurative language, it's up to the reader to figure out meanings. For instance, you have hyperbole, which is used by writers, by a writer or a speaker, or when they exaggerate. And the intention for this is to emphasize on a trait or on something. Kind of. Usually, it talks about like you see the sentence here on the screen, like these shoes are killing me. I have no self-control when it comes to food. So you say that, okay, this GED program is taking forever. This endless lesson is so boring. You see, all these things. These are exaggerations. It's going to end in about 6 minutes. And GED program is going to end in about a week. Like next week, session 16 is going to be the last session. Even though you might feel that this is taking forever, but that's not true at all. That's an exaggeration, and you are using good for you hyperbole. And we said that the next one is metaphor. This is when the writer or a speaker actually compares two different things without using the words like or as. She cut him down with her words. In this sentence, the words actually, you cannot cut down someone with your word. This is a comparison made there. And then you say that, so what stones then shook the ocean my sleep. Like you say things like, for instance, so the promise between us was a delicate flower. You say things like, metaphors are when you do not use like or as. You just say how you feel. You say that, for instance, your eyes are fireflies. See, really beautiful, but figurative language, not literally. Yeah, your eyes aren't literally fireflies. Now, the next one is personification. Personification is a type of figurative language used when a speaker or writer actually gives human characteristics or qualities or traits to an object or an idea. So say that in here it said that I overheard these streets talking about you. We know streets do not talk. Yeah, we know that talking is a human characteristic or a human trait, a human quality that in here is given to streets. Where we see, the moon turned over to face the day. The moon does not turn over. It revolves, but it doesn't really turn over. Or things like you say that money is the only friend that I can count on. Again, this is repetitive, but these are the famous ones. Oh, love is blind. Oh, we know love does not have eyes to be blind to begin with. Anyway, so this is when a writer or a speaker gives human characteristics to an object or an idea. So simile is comparison made between two things using like or as. The man held the blanket like a memory. In here, the blanket is actually compared with memory using simile. And we know that you say, for instance, I love this food as much as as much as, for instance, computers. I love computers a lot. Maybe not a good quality to have, but anyway. So she hung her head like dying water, right? So the hung hair actually is compared with dying water, and maybe dying water cannot die. That's maybe a personification done, or maybe so you say that your handshake felt like a warm embrace, right? So the handshake and warm embrace, they are two different things, but they are compared here using like. Anyway, understatement, the next one is when a speaker or writer express an idea with much less force than it's expected. For instance, you expect something to be really strong, but the writer speaker decides to express it with much less force. In here, it says Toja can be uncomfortable at times, right? And we know that Toja is uncomfortable at all times, like always. And we know that this is an understatement. You know, the things like, okay, burning your legs can be a little bit painful. You know that is a huge understatement, right? Anyway, idioms, like we said that when figurative language, when figurative expressions are used so often and they become so common that they are used by native speakers daily, and native speakers usually do not even know that they are using figurative language or what type of figurative language they use. For instance, idioms can be any of the above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 figurative language types. Like uh, baby's new current office was just the icing on the cake. This is a metaphor, right? So like icing on the cake and baby's new corner, they are compared. After eating candy, Billy ran like a chicken with his head cut off. This is a simile using like. And the new car was an arm and leg. This is hyperbole, this is exaggeration. We know that was not the price of the car, and that's not how a car is, how much or how expensive a car is. So Tom said that he changed, but actions speak louder than words. We know this is personification because actions themselves do not speak. But in this case, actions are given the human characteristics, the human characteristic of speaking, which is personification. And hyperbole, he did it at a drop of a hat, right? No one can do something so fast or that fast. So that is exaggeration. Anyway, I know we don't have enough time. Maybe this is something that you should do on your own, and I will check your responses after this. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please do let me know. And I think maybe this is good for you guys as well. So for instance, now maybe this is when I should talk about the question, and this might help you go through this on your own. And that's okay. Now, when you read this, the question in the chat box, right? The question in the chat box. So, who would win in a fight, lion or a tiger? Great. This is a question. Good. So, well, if size has anything to do with the matter, the tiger would win. That is because tigers are the largest of all cat species. They grow up to 11 feet long and weigh as much as 670 pounds. Okay, that is some general information about tigers. This makes tigers the third largest land carnivore. Carnivore basically means animals that eat meat. So the only larger land carnivores are polar bears and brown bears. Tigers are not only large, but they are also fast. They can sprint as fast as 40 miles per hour for short distances and leap as far as 30 feet horizontally. Wow. 30 feet? Aha. So now, these are some general information. Like, this makes for extremely dangerous pounds. You might not think that such large, fast, and ferocious creatures need help to survive, but they do. Tiger is an endangered species. Despite all of tiger's strengths, the future of species is uncertain. Tigers face a very high risk of extinction. Okay, where was I? It is estimated, I'm here. So it's estimated that at the start of the 20th century, there were over 100,000 tigers living in the wild. By the turn of the century, the number of tigers outside of the category dwindled to just over 3,000. Interestingly, the most serious threats tigers face come from a much smaller species, one with an average weight of around my reasons. People have long valued the famous stripe skins. Okay, we know that this is about danger about tigers, right? No, we have seen a few numbers. Weight of tigers, speed of tigers, how far they can jump or leap horizontally. We know that before 20th the start of 20th century, they were uh, this many tigers in the world. We have seen that. We have seen average weight of humans. We have seen the number that the number of tigers at the turn of century. Okay, great. Now we've seen all those numbers. It's fine. Okay, great. We know why people like tiger skins. Humans threaten tigers. Okay. Though trading skins is now illegal in most parts of the world, tiger pelts are worth around 10,000. Okay, that's 10,000 on the black market. Though the fur would be incentive enough, okay, for most poachers, other parts of the tiger can also fetch a pretty penny, basically a good amount of money. Some people in China and other Asian cultures believe that various tiger parts have healing properties. Traditional Chinese medicine calls for the use of tiger bones, among other parts. Anyway, now once you've seen these numbers, you have to attach these numbers to something. Now, just by looking at this, okay, this is tiger weight, this is how fast they run, this is how long or how far they leap or jump, this is their number the start of 20th century, this is their number by the turn of the century or maybe start of 21st century. This is average weight of humans. This is their health worth on the black market, right? So these numbers, attach them to something, and then you will be able to do it. I will add this text in on Mentimeter. Hopefully, you will be able to see this. I'll add this in different parts, hopefully as an image. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. We'll review your answers in the next. Okay, great. Now I see people have responded to that. Great. I will put this text on Mentimeter as well. Just write down this. Just write down this code and run this, and we'll be able to answer the questions. Thank you so much, everyone. This is the end of session 14. And in the next session, we will go through some mathematical rules, punctuation. And in session 16, we will go through some tips and strategies. And then I have many practices ready for you, and hope you do well. Thank you, and this is it, everyone.
Thank you very much to our facilitator for today's session. As usual, we always enjoyed the session so much. And also, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing wonderful fun facts through our social media platforms. And now, do you want to develop more brilliant ideas with a platform like this? It's easy as ABC. You can simply go to our website at www.atmerica.or.id, select create an event, and go to collaborate with us. All given proposals will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter if you find yourself enjoying this event so you can stay updated with our upcoming events as well. Follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ATMerica for interesting contents, giveaways, and so much more. Also, click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that, it is time to say farewell. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. My name is Hasna. See you on the next At America event. Bye bye, everybody.